Hey YouTube, how's it going? This is Cavaboomdeay back with another installment of Scary Paranormal Story Time. Last episode, I'm going to call it an episode. Last time we left off partway through the story, The Creak of the Door. This story is right off of creepypasta.com under the category Beings and Entities. So if I'm going to leave a link in the description so that you can go and read this yourself, or you can check out some of the other categories. Maybe this is something you want to do. So I'm going to back it up a little bit and just a couple paragraphs before I left off in the last video, just to kind of bring things back up to speed. If you haven't seen the video before this one, I would suggest watching that one first, or you're going to be lost with this one, or just grab the link and go read it yourself. So we're just going to get right into it. This is The Creak of the Door. Just as I thought I could stomach no more, I saw something emerging from the black. The translucent blackness that made up those things covered the figure that was appearing like a veil, but I could still see it moving. It moved through the doorway at a snail's pace. I could clearly see long limbs. It was slate white, devoid of color. The arms that emerged from the darkness of the doorway were wiry and very, very long. The muscles pulled at the visible bone from under the skin as it moved. It began to pull itself through the doorway more and more. Then its face made its way through the door. My eyes blistered as tears immediately swelled past the surface and began to fall freely. My breath was ragged and spiteful as each attempt to breathe set my throat aflame. That face! It was the same face I saw so long ago. That featureless face moved closer and closer. Everything about it was elongated. It moved like a sloth, slowly reaching out with a hand and digging its gnarled claws into a grip to pull itself along. When it made it to the shadow things, they let out the most gut-wrenching wails. With an indolent swipe, it dragged one of its long arms through each and every one of the black entities. Their wails grew so loud that my ears burned. I felt sorry for them for some reason. As they screamed at their demise, they faded into wisps in the dark, disappearing from sight. The white one continued to claw and creep over me. Its claws dug into my headboard, and its legs lifted over me from the end of my bed. I could hear its bones crackling with every move it made. That's how close it came to me in the camera. Its neck extended further, growing as its vacant face met mine only inches away. The face began to crack and tear, opening up to reveal a mouth, as blood seeped from the newly formed tip. A guttural growl gurgled through the blood that pooled in its mouth. It lifted its head to the camera and cocked it to the side before letting out a terrifying screech. The camera was overwhelmed with static, and the image began to corrupt and break as the screech drew out. It lasted maybe 10 seconds before the video cut to black. Minutes passed, and it remained black. Then the video flashed back to show a mostly empty room, save for me sleeping soundly. For the longest time I sat there. Was I going crazy? Is this just a dream? Was it a hallucination from sleep deprivation? Maybe, but when I started the next video, it was the same thing. I didn't watch for the longest time. I sat there. Okay. I sat there. Was I going crazy? Is this just a dream? Was it a hallucination from sleep deprivation? Maybe, but when I started the next video, it was the same thing. I didn't watch the second video. I couldn't. I sat there for a long while before I actually focused enough on my hands. There was blood, and not just on my hands, it was all over me. I got up and dashed for the bathroom, slamming the door behind me. The mirror showed blood steadily streaming from my eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. I glanced down at my shirt through the mirror, which was drenched in blood. I lifted it. A bite mark bled freely from my side. It bit me, and I never stirred. I didn't even feel it until now. My body was shaking uncontrollably. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Creak. I could have sworn I closed the door behind me. It was a pretty good story. It definitely... Sorry. It was definitely interesting. It did paint, a good picture of what was going on. It's kind of weird. I would be creeped out. I don't know about you. I don't know. I think that one's too long. Here, we'll read. No, I read that one already. Here, we'll read again. This is from the same category, Beings and Entities, from creepypasta.com, but we're going to read this one because it's not too long. The hallway was dark, just like the other hallways she had staggered down. Unreasoning fear filled her mind as she ran. Gasping and crying, she leaned against the wall, trying to remember which way she had come from. But the truth was, her flight had been so frantic that she had lost sense of direction long ago. For all she knew, she had been running through the same few hallways in a gigantic circle. The sound of metal scraping behind her renewed her panicked flight. Her hands grasped the smooth walls, trying to find something, anything that would guide her, or at the very least she could rip off to use as a weapon. But there was nothing. In fact, the only thing she felt occasionally was nothing when another hallway branched off from the one she was in. Finally, she ran full tilt into a wall. She would even see spots in front of her eyes, she supposed, if it wasn't so dark. She turned, ready to run back the way she had come, but the metallic scraping was close now, and she knew her escape was cut off. Why? She screamed into the blackness. Because, a voice whispered back, because we are destined to be together forever. Fear forgotten and rage replaced, she dashed forward, shoulder down, determined not to die crying in the corner. Just wanna... There we go. Determined not to die crying in the corner. Her shoulder connected with her assailant, and they fell in a tumble. But even as they did, her hands clawed and slashed around her. She felt something sharp dig into her chest once, twice, 3 times. Shuddering, she closed her eyes, feeling something blacker than the darkness envelop her, a sense of relief filling her. At least it was over. She woke with a start and a hand on her chest. She shook her head slowly. A bad dream of some sort? She couldn't remember, and the details were fading. Looking around, she saw stairs leading into darkness next to her. As she stood up to look down when she heard the sound of something metal being scraped on the hall behind her. Unreasoning fear filled her mind. She plunged into the blackness below, the smooth walls her only guide. Interesting. So I suppose she, I guess this is sort of a, I don't know what it's called, but like, the beginning of the story is the continuation of the end, just sort of continuing, waking up, and that would be weird, I think, if you had a nightmare that you just continued to, you'd wake up, and then but you're actually back in that dream again. I don't know if any of you have ever had that, where you wake up in your dream, but you're still in a dream. Some Inception shit there. But yeah, so that's it for Scary Paranormal Story Time. I'll leave the link in the description so you can read these yourself. And thanks for watching. Have a good one.